please welcome Annapurna Shankar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a brief introduction about myself. I'm Annapurna Shankar. I lead the agriculture sector at Invest India. Invest India is the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. We report directly to DPIIT. Our core mandate is investment facilitation and promotion. We provide information to investors looking to invest in India. We try to handhold them through the entire process of applying for approvals, for getting any sort of licenses that they need from state and center governments. And we also help companies that are looking to expand by way of helping them with land assessment and again getting approvals and any sort of licenses that they require. We work across ministries, so we're very well linked to all ministries within the central governments. We also work across all states, so again, we're linked very well with all state governments. Issue resolution is also a big part of what we do. So any companies that face issues in terms of getting any sort of subsidies released from the government, or if there's any areas specifically where there's any intervention required, we do tend to take them up with the government. Another aspect of what I do is policy recommendation work. So if there is an industry that faces a particular issue, we'll have a stakeholder workshop to understand how we can put it forward to the government and see if any sort of policy recommendations can be made and any sort of policy changes can be leveraged by way of our position in the value chain. Most of you here are grain and pulses experts, but then I just wanted to reiterate that grain production in India, it may have saturated to some degree, but it is still growing. As the speaker before me said, that technology is something that we definitely need to leverage in order to increase production, and again that requires investments, that requires a certain sort of skill set where industry needs to be helping people on the ground, and by people on the ground I mean farmers, to actually increase production. Our top states and Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Punjab. Again, I want to reiterate that the total production is increasing. It's slow, but it is happening, and it will obviously only get better if industry also helps farmers. The government is trying, but industry needs to work with the government to actually push the growth. Pulses again are growing at about 4.4%. We are the largest producer and consumer of pulses in the world, and we produce 1/5 of what goes out into the world. We're also one of the largest exporters. Our top states are obviously Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, but there are scope in other areas where we can leverage technology to increase the production of pulses as well. In terms of exports, we have been one of the biggest exporters of food grains in the world. Our exports have been growing over the last few years, and they've grown at a fairly good rate. Our top destinations include the United States, Australia and Sri Lanka, which are very big markets. And again, we should leverage that to the best of our ability by putting up more and more processing units wherever possible. Our export drivers include the price competitiveness due to the supply chains that exist in our country. India is placed in a very strategic location globally, so we're close to all countries and we can manage supply chains very well. And globally again, we're doing quite well in terms of pulses productions. Millets obviously is a focus area for the government this year. We aren't the biggest producer of maize in the world, which is unfortunate, but then again, it is something that the government is looking into, and hopefully it is something that would change in the next few years. I actually primarily wanted to talk about the government initiatives that are in place to help the agriculture sector develop. There's 4 primary schemes that I'd like to discuss that fall under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare and MOFPI, which is the Ministry of Food Processing. First is the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. It is a fund that provides interest subvention to farmers, to private companies, to self-help groups, to FPOs. Any loans that are taken under this receive an interest subvention of up to 3%, up to a limit of 2 crores. I understand 2 crores doesn't really sound like a big amount. However, if you were to set up a small warehouse in an area where there are bigger FPOs, it is something that can be leveraged very effectively. The next scheme I'd like to talk about is the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. It aims to create modern infrastructure with efficient supply chain management from farm gate to the retail outlet. It has a huge outlay, and within the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana fall the creation, expansion of food processing, preserving capacities, and the infra for agro-processing cluster schemes. Under the creation, expansion of food processing and preservation capacities, the main aim is to create processing and preservation capacities to modernize and expand the existing food processing units with a view to increase the level of processing and value addition. It's subject to a maximum of 5 crores. Obviously, one of the core discussions that happen at any agricultural conclave is the fact that Indian agriculture is not modern enough and that we don't have enough warehouses. So all of these schemes do help with that. The last scheme that I would like to talk about is the PM formalization of micro food processing enterprises. It gives increased access to credit for existing micro food processing entrepreneurs and for common facilities like processing and laboratories. I do understand that the quantum of the fund may seem a little small, but then again, if you were to leverage it multiple times in various different areas, it's a scheme that will definitely help modernize agriculture and help fill up the gaps that currently exist in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Annapurna. Thank you so much for your presentation. May I please request to wait a moment. And may I request Vasant Bhanushali, are you here in the hall, sir, to present a memento? Mr. Bhanushali? May I request anyone else from the IPGA Managing Committee to please step forward? Mr. Padya, please step forward. Thank you, Ms. Shankar, for that wonderful presentation, and Mrs. Satish Upadhyay, on behalf of the organizers, would like to present a small memento. Yes.